Japan, 1645. A man feels death approaching. His hands, which once wielded the most lethal katana in the land, now tremble. He knows he has only days left to leave something that would change lives forever. You're about to discover what this legendary samurai wrote, and why it might be just what you need to stop being held hostage by your own fears. But be careful. Once you know this, there's no going back. Imagine living without fear, without anxiety, without depending on the opinions of others to feel good. It seems impossible, right? But in 1645, a legendary samurai named Miyamoto Musashi did something extraordinary. He took all the wisdom from a lifetime of battles, victories, and defeats, and condensed it all into just 21 simple rules. These rules weren't for other samurai, they were for himself, a final gift he left to the world before he left. And the most amazing thing, these same rules can solve 90% of the problems you face today. Do you know why? Because human problems haven't changed. Only the circumstances have changed. The anxiety you feel in certain situations in your life is the same as that felt by a samurai before a battle. But of course, in completely different circumstances today, you are unlikely to be at risk of death like a samurai before a battle. The social pressure you suffer at work is the same as that which existed in the Japanese imperial court. But here's the difference. Musashi found the solution, and today you're going to find out exactly how to apply this ancient philosophy to your modern life. In this video, we won't cover all 21 rules that Musashi wrote, but we will focus on some essential rules that can change your perception of the world. Before we dive in, you need to understand who this guy was. But first, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and activate the bell so you don't miss any new content. Now, back to the video. Miyamoto Musashi was no ordinary samurai. At the age of 13, he had already killed a man in a duel. By the age of 30, he was invincible. There is no scholarly consensus, but many believe he won more than 60 duels. He never lost a single one, ever. But here's the plot twist. The more he won, the more he realized that the real battle wasn't against other samurai. It was against himself, against his own fears, desires, attachments, and weaknesses. And that's when he discovered something that would change everything. True strength doesn't come from conquering others. It comes from conquering yourself. And that's exactly what Dokkōdō teaches. Dokkōdō means the way of solitude, or the way of walking alone. But be careful. It's not about social isolation. It's about emotional independence. It's about not needing anyone to feel complete. Just think. How many times have you made decisions based on what others would think? How many times have you stopped yourself from doing something because you were afraid of being judged? How many times have you felt bad because you didn't receive the validation you expected? Musashi understood one fundamental thing. As long as you depend on external factors to be happy, you will never be truly free. And true freedom is what makes a person unshakable. But how did he come to this conclusion? And more importantly, how can you apply this to your life today? Don't worry, this is just the beginning. Let's get straight to the point. Of the 21 precepts of Dokkōdō, there are 5 that can completely transform your life. And the first of them goes against everything that modern society teaches you. Precept 1. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Hold on. This doesn't mean you have to become a monk and give up everything. It means something much deeper. Don't be a slave to your desires. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how our society is based on instant gratification? Netflix, fast food, online shopping, social media, all designed to give you an instant hit of dopamine. The problem is that this creates a psychological dependency. When you seek pleasure for its own sake, you become a hostage to your circumstances. If things don't go your way, you suffer. If you can't get what you want, you become frustrated. You lose control. Musashi realized this 400 years ago. He who controls his desires controls his life. He who is controlled by his desires controls nothing. And here's the interesting part. When you stop desperately seeking pleasure, you paradoxically become happier because you no longer depend on external factors to feel good. Precept 2. Do not cling to things. This one is revolutionary in the modern world. We live in a society that teaches us that happiness is having more things, more money, more followers, more likes, more recognition, more material goods. But Musashi discovered a brutal truth. The more you hold on to things, the more fragile you become, because everything you have can be lost. And when you lose something you were attached to, you lose a piece of yourself. This doesn't mean you should become a radical minimalist. It means you should have things, but things shouldn't have you. The difference is subtle, but powerful. When you don't hold on, you can lose everything and still be yourself. When you hold on, you lose it along with it. Precept 3. Have no personal preferences in regard to yourself. This is perhaps the hardest one to understand. What Musashi means is, don't identify with your preferences. Don't define yourself by what you like or don't like. Why? Because preferences change. If you identify with them, you are on a constant emotional roller coaster. Today, you like one thing, tomorrow something else. Today, you feel one way, tomorrow something else. Unshakable people have an identity that goes beyond preferences. They know who they are regardless of what they like or dislike at the moment. And that's liberating because you stop judging yourself based on temporary tastes and start to really know yourself. But calm down, the next precepts will mess with your head even more. Now let's get to the precepts that really separate ordinary people from extraordinary people. And get ready, because what comes next goes against everything you've ever learned about relationships and success. Precept 4. Do not seek to be loved or lovable. Sounds cruel, right? Let me explain what that really means. Musashi isn't telling you to be a horrible person. He's telling you to stop trying to please everyone. Stop changing your personality to be accepted. Stop putting yourself down so you don't get in the way. How many times have you said yes when you meant no? How many times have you pretended to agree with something just to avoid creating conflict? How many times have you kept your opinion to yourself because you were afraid of not being accepted? This is seeking to be loved, and it is a prison. Unshakable people don't need other people's approval to feel good about themselves. They are authentic, even if that means not pleasing everyone. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to be liked, you become more attractive, because authenticity is magnetic. People are attracted to those who have the courage to be real. Precept 5. Do not be guided by feelings of lust or love. This is controversial, but I'll explain exactly what Musashi meant. He's not telling you not to love or have relationships. He's telling you not to be a slave to those feelings, not to let them control your decisions. How many people do you know who make terrible decisions when they're in love? Who give up their dreams for someone else? Who become different people just to maintain a relationship? Musashi understood that true love is not possession. It is mutual freedom. When you love someone without becoming dependent on that person, you offer the best of yourself. When you love desperately, you offer your weaknesses. And modern science confirms this. According to a study published by psychologists at the University of Rochester, people in relationships based on healthy interdependence rather than emotional dependence are 73% more likely to have long-lasting and satisfying relationships. A neuroscientist with over 20 years of experience in human behavior explained at a recent conference, when you don't need someone to feel complete, you can choose to be with that person for the right reasons. This creates a much stronger foundation for any relationship. But here's what no study can fully capture: the sense of freedom that comes when you realize you don't need anything or anyone to be happy. It's like a giant weight has been lifted off your shoulders. And this brings us to the most powerful aspect of Dokkōdō: how to apply it in practice in your daily life. Because theory without practice is just barroom philosophy. Now, let's get to the point: how you can use these teachings to solve real problems in your modern life. And be prepared, because some of these methods will seem counterintuitive at first. Situation 1. Anxiety on social media. You know that bad feeling when you post something and it doesn't get the likes you were hoping for? Or when you see other people who are seemingly happier and more successful than you? This is exactly what Musashi was talking about when it comes to seeking external validation. The solution to this, following the principles of Dokkōdō, is simple. Stop posting to impress. Only post when you genuinely want to share something. And when you do post, don't check people's reactions every 5 minutes. Sounds impossible. Try this. For a week, every time you post something, ask yourself, am I posting this for myself or for others? If it's for others, don't post it. You'll realize how most of your posts are motivated by validation. And when you stop doing that, you free yourself from a prison you didn't even know existed. Situation 2. Pressure at work. Have you ever felt pressured to do whatever your boss asks of you, even when you know you're doing it wrong? Have you ever felt stressed because you can't control how others perceive your work? If Musashi lived today, he would say, do your job with excellence, but don't get attached to the result. Do your best, but don't depend on the recognition of others to feel good. In practice, this means focus on the process, not the outcome. You control the effort you put in, but you don't control how others will react. And when you stop stressing about what you can't control, you become much more efficient at what really matters. Situation 3. Toxic relationships. How many times have you stayed in relationships, romantic, family, or friendship, that were bad for you just because you were afraid of being alone? The principle of Dokkōdō is clear. It is better to be alone and be true than to be accompanied and be false. Loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of authentic connections. When you apply this in practice, you stop tolerating disrespect. You stop putting yourself down to keep the peace. You stop pretending to be someone you're not to be accepted. And here's the magic. When you do this, you naturally attract people who value you for who you really are. You trade quantity for quality. Situation 4. Consumerism and materialism. Have you ever bought something thinking it would make you happy, only to have it only last a few days? Have you ever felt pressured to have things you don't need just to impress someone? Musashi lived with the bare minimum for years, not out of poverty, but by choice. He discovered that the less you need, the freer you are. This doesn't mean becoming a hermit or living like a beggar. It means distinguishing between needs and wants. It means having control over your purchases rather than being controlled by them. Try this. Before you buy anything non-essential, wait 48 hours. If after that time you still want to buy it and can afford it without compromising your finances, do it. You'll be surprised at how many impulsive purchases you avoid. But there is an aspect of Dokkōdō that is even more profound and transformative. But there's something about Dokkōdō that most people don't realize, something that may sound disturbing at first, but is the key to real transformation. Musashi wrote 21 precepts knowing that he had little time left to live. Many say that Musashi suffered from stomach cancer, so he was literally looking death in the face. And it was precisely this that gave him the absolute clarity to allocate only what really matters. Here's the uncomfortable truth: we're all going to die too. You, me, everyone. The difference is that most people live their lives pretending it won't happen, and so they waste time on things that don't matter. When you truly accept your mortality, not in a morbid way, but in a realistic way, your priorities change completely. You stop worrying about what other people think. You stop putting off your dreams. You stop living the life other people expect of you. This is the last and most powerful lesson of Dokkōdō. Live as if you were going to die tomorrow, but prepare as if you were going to live forever. I can use another phrase to sum this up. Memento mori. St. Augustine also said, take care of your soul as if you were going to die tomorrow, and your body as if you were going to live forever. So what does it really mean to be unshakable? It's not being insensitive, it's not being painless, it's not being fearless. Being unshakable is having such a solid foundation in who you are that external storms can't knock you down. It's knowing that you can lose everything and still be yourself. It's the difference between being a leaf that blows in any wind and being a mountain that stands firm no matter the storm. Musashi achieved this through a lifetime of battles, against others and against himself. You can achieve this by applying the principles of Dokkōdō to your modern life. It's not easy, it's not quick, but it's possible. And here's my final question for you. If you knew you only had 1 week to live, how would you live today? What fears would you let go of? What masks would you take off? What truths would you finally speak? You don't have to wait a week to find out. You can start now. Because in the end, Dokkōdō is not about preparing to die. It's about finally starting to live. And if you've made it this far, congratulations. You've already taken the first step, because seeking knowledge that challenges you is, in itself, an act of courage. Now the question is, will you just stay with the knowledge, or will you have the courage to apply it? The choice is yours. It always has been.